Today I'm joined by Elaine Kamarck of the Brookings Institute. She is also a veteran of the Clinton White House and author of the book Why Presidents Fail. As if she didn't have enough hats, also Harvard University. Elaine, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Today we're going to talk about a piece that you wrote recently, and I think the headline or the title kind of it's self-explanatory. Very simply, President Pence.
Right.
And before we get into what you wrote, I think an even more fascinating question to start is, why did you write this, and why did you write this now?
I think I wrote it now because we are looking ahead. And it's always interesting to look ahead and to tell people to be patient, right? This investigations that are swirling around President Trump, they take a long time. There may not be anything there. This may be a series of self-inflicted wounds that the president, through his inexperience, has made himself look guilty, and he may not be guilty of anything.
Absolutely.
So we need to let this process play out. And but one possible conclusion of this process is, in fact, President Pence, which is why I put a question mark there. What began this entire thing, the firing of the National Security Advisor, was prompted not because the government warned President Trump that there was something fishy about him. It was prompted because he didn't tell Vice President Pence about this. And obviously Vice President Pence, who by character is not an angry person, I think for him, he probably got really angry. and that prompted the firing, even though there were other warnings prior to that.
Sure.
So I think that's an indication that Pence was out of the loop. And as I say in the piece, sometimes it's good to be out of the loop.
You noted that he spends a lot of time on the Hill talking with congressional Republicans who he's close with. And when I talk to congressional Republicans, especially House Republicans, they love the vice president. He is their guy. So the million-dollar question, what is Mike Pence up to?
Well, I think that he is a real straight shooter. From everything we know. Right. He's very conservative, but he's a very decent sort of guy. And I think what happened here, and it's an interesting sort of conjunction of fate, if you will, is he started out taking on all the pieces of the job that Trump either couldn't do or didn't want to do. Trump clearly likes to go to one of his golf clubs on the weekends. Right. That's where he has spent his weekends. He doesn't think that the great weekend is traveling around the country and campaigning for Republicans.
As much as he likes to do these rallies, as we saw Wednesday night.
That's right.
He's very comfortable there, but you're right. He doesn't
He likes
do that on the
these
weekends.
rallies, but
Right.
he doesn't, because the rallies are all about him.
Right.
See, what he doesn't like is going to a congressional district and focusing on some man or woman who's trying to win a Republican seat, okay, or raising money, okay? He's not been doing much of that either. So that left a vacuum, and obviously Mike Pence, who understands the needs of a political party, had filled that vacuum. The other vacuum was, of course, dealing on the Hill, where the president didn't have the relationships because he had never been in politics before. Right. But more importantly, the president didn't have the expertise. I mean, the famous quote, "Who knew healthcare was so complicated?" Well, everybody who's been involved in policy knows that healthcare is really complicated. Right now, in spite of the special election losses, which I think disappointed a lot of Democrats, right now all the underlying trends say that the Democrats will probably pick up seats in the House. They may pick up enough seats to get control of the House. It's interesting that they need 24 seats, and there were 24 congressional districts where Hillary Clinton won the district, but a Republican won the House seat.
Right.
So you could see those turning into a Trump referenda rather than a referendum on the individual member of Congress. So there's a good chance that either the House margins will narrow or Democrats will take control. If that coincides with the conclusion of the Mueller investigation, and the Mueller investigation finds some evidence of wrongdoing, either by Trump himself or by people very close to him, you can see Democrats taking over and the Judiciary Committee drawing up the articles of impeachment and actually getting a vote on it.
Right.
You wouldn't see that now, and you wouldn't see that now for two reasons. One is the Republicans are in charge. They're still supporting their president, as they should. But if we play this forward, one of the things that you will have, if there's some fire where the smoke is, and if Democrats pick up, is you're going to have a Republican Party that is very comfortable with President Pence and that can see themselves sort of saving themselves. You know, you can see that if things get bad enough, these Republicans will say, Pence can stabilize our situation and keep us from having really dramatic losses in 2020, both at the congressional level and at the presidential level. If things play out badly for President Trump, you have in Mike Pence a vice president who is well-liked and who will have a lot of IOUs from congressional Republicans. And it is congressmen who vote the articles of impeachment.
Right.
So you can see that if this situation deteriorates more than it has, you can see Republican congressmen saying to themselves at some point down the road, let's cut our losses. Pence will be a stable, conservative president. Right. We might actually pass something under Pence's leadership to take to the electorate, and this will stabilize our party. Otherwise, the party will go into a big decline, as it did in 1974 and then in 1976 when they, Democrats had the Congress and Democrats won the presidency.
Right, right. Well, it's a level of palace intrigue that I think a lot of folks aren't yet talking about. So, Elaine, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me, John.